It is important to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands. We would also like to pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging.
As First Nations people, we invite everyone to share, be proud and be empowered by our culture, to come together with one voice of reconciliation.
Look at the sun falling from the sky. The sunset takes my mind back to my homeland far away. It's a story, planted in my mind. It's a prayer, I remember, oh my, sunset dreaming.
Out there,
How come you ain't fair to the people of the land? Try mine, sunset dreaming.
Oh, dropping out. Oh, Romney. Oh,
sorrow and war for our people and our land.
Oh, dropping out. Oh, Romney. Oh, Macquarie.
Living it up,
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 living it up.
living it up. Sunset dreaming.
Amazing welcome to country, and thank you so much to the Macquarie Foundation. That is brilliant. Welcome to welcome to the Connect Macquarie Park Innovation District 2022 Macquarie Park Summit. It is so brilliant seeing people in our auditorium again. I'm Gavin. I work at Optus. I lead our digital center of excellence, and it's a really exciting time to be leading such a great team of people, especially from the fact that we're running agile across Optus. So Really exciting to have over 800 of our people working in an amazing Agile methodology. Would love to chat to anyone who would like to hear more about Agile later. I could go on for hours, but fortunately I don't have hours. Also, what I do here is I have a little bit of a side hustle. I look after innovation mindset, which is one of our key pillars at Optus, trying to drive innovation across the entire business. We do some amazing things with hackathons. We do international speakers. We speak to people from all over the world, trying to drive and help our people become more innovative in the way they think, but not just on flying cars or crazy things, but actually just the little 1% things that they could change in their day-to-day jobs that is innovative, that could really help them in their roles. I'd like to thank the Macquarie Foundation, the singers for their warm welcome to country. During the pandemic, we actually launched a program here at Optus called Donate Your Data. And what we did is we actually teamed up with the Macquarie Foundation and we gave them data so they could stay connected locally, in the bush. So it's such a great time to see them in person and being here today, which is fantastic. Optus is excited to have all of you here today in person, which is a big bonus. We're committed to the future of the Macquarie Park and have been long-term members and supporters of Connect. I personally was one of the first people to actually come to Optus when they moved from North Sydney to Macquarie Park. So I've been here and I've seen the trees grow. So it's been an amazing time being here in Macquarie Park. I'd like to formally welcome the Mayor of Ryde, Councillor Jordan Lane, Councillors Bernard Purcell, Penny Pedersen, Shawenta Despanda, and Trenton Brown. I'd also like to welcome the Chief Scientist, New South Wales Chief Scientist, Hugh Durrett-White. And all of you, representatives of across the Macquarie Park community. Our district is an enormous opportunity and on the cusp of transformation. Today, you'll hear from different agencies working together to optimize what we have. Macquarie Park and take it forward to the future. Public sector, private sector, innovators, business leaders, and more. To kickstart the conversation, I'd like to welcome to the stage the MP for Ryde, Minister of Customer Service and Digital Government, the Honourable Victor Dominello. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Gavin. Can I also begin by acknowledging country, pay my respects to elders, both past and present, and what an amazing welcome to country that was, because when you think about culture, it's never static. You know, if culture was static, if people are static, then I'd be still wearing a tunic. The reality is culture and people changes, and I love the modern interpretation of Indigenous culture, particularly as a former Minister for Aboriginal Affairs. So it's so appropriate that we have that acknowledgement, welcome to country in this setting where we have to innovate, because if we don't innovate, we disintegrate very quickly in a changing world. And the beauty about Mac Park is that you've been around for a while. This is not a static environment. This is not a synthetic landscape. This is organic. You have been around for decades. In fact, I'm 54. I remember when they had horses here in the paddock. That's how far I remember back. And to think where we are today, and more importantly, where we will be in the future, is just really exciting times. And I love what you're trying to achieve here, and in fact are achieving through collaboration. And we saw that particularly during the pandemic. You know, people ask me all the time, as a minister that was part of that crisis cabinet, you know, what are the two big learnings that we've seen through the pandemic? And there's two things. One is a significant uplift in digital maturity, no doubt about that. But the second, and I think it's a quiet achievement, is the collaboration. I'll give you an example. Initially, when Glad, when she was the Premier, one of the first decisions she made, because I was there at the time, she said, what we're going to do is we're going to require all the main agencies to come together at the Sydney Olympic Park, at the Emergency Centre at Homebush. And that was the first time. And why? Because that brings people together, ideas together, and it forces collaboration. And that culture of collaboration I've never seen before. I've been in government for 14 years, never seen that before. And just as critically, it has continued. to this day, and it continues to grow. And that's where the strength of Mac Park is. Again, because you've got significant players here across industry, heavyweights in industry, you can collaborate to make sure that we remain prosperous as a state and just as importantly as a nation. So congratulations for all that you have done, but more importantly, all that you will do, because we definitely have challenging times ahead, but Mac Park is going to be central to the New South Wales government in the way that we recover our way through this. Thank you again.
Thanks very much, Minister. My name's Eric Knight and I'm the Executive Dean of Macquarie Business School. And so can I also start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land we meet and on which Macquarie University is situated, the Wadawurrung people of the Darug Nation, and to pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I hope we have the capacity for Wingara to think, to learn, to walk safely upon this land. And as you know, Macquarie University continues to pay respect for its reciprocal relationship with traditional owners, which is partly why we have renamed our campus in North Ryde the Macquarie University Wadawurrung campus. Macquarie University is a young university by Australian and by world standards. It was only established in 1964, and in that time it has already risen to being one of the top 1% universities in the world. Geography has always been a part of Macquarie University's vision. Macquarie Park was created as Australia's original innovation district. Purposefully modelled on Stanford University, it was built as a business centre, clustered around a centre of research in Macquarie University. At Macquarie University, we've invested the better part of $1 billion of investment in the geography and amenity of the campus for the benefit of community members, students, scholars, industry, who use our sporting facilities, classrooms, retail outlets, amongst many other amenities. But more than the space is also the population flows that we bring into this postcode every day. I'll show a slide that comes up next, but reveals to you that almost 20,000 people come to campus at Macquarie every day. When you look at where these students are coming from, you can see the extent to which Macquarie University is not just a university of the North, it's a university of the Northwest. Approximately 14,000 of our students come from some of our biggest catchment areas to the west: the Hills Shire, Blacktown, Parramatta, Ryde and Campbelltown. These are the students that I have at Macquarie Business School and at Macquarie University. In addition to that, we've got another 1,300 coming in from the Central Coast and Newcastle areas, a region which we think we'll continue to explore in bringing that right here into Macquarie Park. These aren't just commuters. They're people who frequent restaurants, who visit shops at Macquarie Centre and beyond. They're also the future employees of this area. We're producing almost 10,000 job seekers a year at Macquarie University, many feeding into the local economy. They work at Optus, at Foxtel, at Johnson & Johnson, but they also find their path elsewhere in Sydney, Australia, the region. And as the Executive Dean at Macquarie Business School, I was very pleased for the AFR recently to recognise just how many CEOs come out of Macquarie Business School. I think we are one of the biggest 4 graduates of CEOs in Australia. Wonderful alumni: Mel De Silva, MD at Google; Steve Worrell, MD at Microsoft; Rob Scott, CEO of Wesfarmers; Catherine Livingston, Chair of CBA; and of course, relevant to today and beyond the business school at Macquarie University, Minister Dominello, no less, Amy Brown, Department of Enterprise Investment and Trade, all alumni of this university. Innovation theory tells us that regions are significant and lively areas, not just centres. In this respect, I endorse the comments of Mayor Jordan Lane and others on this point of advocating for Ryde. And therefore, so too is Macquarie Park, a critical connection to the city's network of Sydney. The New South Wales Government's investment in transport infrastructure has been fundamental in enabling the growth of this region and its connection between the north and the west. The 6 cities policy is a great one, but we might think about Macquarie Park as a gateway district at the top of the Greater Sydney Commission's Eastern Economic Corridor, easy reach into the Central Coast, but an area which will have growing connection into the central city out west of Parramatta. Keeping this space active and engaged is crucial to the strong and lively functioning of this region. And so the government's support for investment in innovation infrastructure to date has been crucial, such as the establishment of startup incubators, both at Macquarie University, such as the Macquarie University Incubator with Melissa Ryan here today, as well as the CSIRO Linfield Collaboration Hub. But our work together is not finished. There are projects that are being proposed and explored now that are vital to secure and advance the social and economic future of this region. Therefore, we're keen to learn at Macquarie University how we can do more and better with government and with the various business stakeholders in this group. That might be to shape the transport planning around Macquarie Centre and Macquarie University and down Waterloo Road, fundamental to ensuring the transport linkages that connect into the park. That may be about shaping the planning around this place and its amenity and the focus on affordable housing. This is crucial to our vision as a green and livable city, and it's also crucial to how we attract talent. And when I was at Stanford, just as COVID was breaking, one of the biggest problems they had in attracting talent was being able to afford to create affordable housing, because they don't have the strata that allows for that. Macquarie Park does. And of course, through all of that, there is the process for how we continue to have generative and productive dialogue. And therefore, we are keen to contribute to the compelling vision that fully exploits the nature of this place as an innovation ecosystem, builds sustainable and stakeholder-led governance to maintain a common sense of purpose in how we work together as Connect MPID. And of course, through the work of Sarah Winter, Greater Sydney's Commission, new appointment, Executive Director for the Central Coast of Macquarie Park, an alumna as well of Macquarie University, crucial to how we begin to align the investment principles of this state and this area. So where to from here? We at Macquarie University strongly believe in the concept of an innovation district as a useful and impactful one for aligning stakeholders in Macquarie Park around a strategy to boost regional economic competitiveness. We need to further articulate and make the case for this vision in this city, in this postcode, and as part of Sydney and Greater Sydney and within New South Wales, as an attractor of talent, to link up major transport corridors for affordable housing and for a commitment to sustainability and green space. We'll back our own investment into that vision, and we're keen to work with others who want to come around the table. Macquarie University understands that we play a critical role in supporting that development. We realise that we need to play a leadership role, and that's why the Vice-Chancellor, Bruce Downton, will shortly be hosting a forum for business leaders to discuss ways to advance that innovation district. We pride ourselves at Macquarie at being easy to work with, being good for business, and we have a simple motto that reflects that: you to the power of us. Thanks to Connect MPID, and thanks for inviting Macquarie University to be part of the conversation. Thank you.
Macquarie Park has access to Australia's first fully automated metro system, the Metro North West Line. And the good news is, the metro network is expanding. New tunnels beneath Sydney Harbour will link Macquarie Park to the city and beyond. In 2024, you'll be able to get a direct metro from Macquarie Park to Barangaroo in just 18 minutes.
Here at Macquarie University, we support an engaged and active community of entrepreneurs, researchers and industry looking to commercialise disruptive innovation. We do this via our education programming, our network of mentors and investors in our bespoke incubator facility. In 2021, our startups attracted over $44 million in external funding, and they also employed over 177 staff.
Stockland is excited to be bringing our life science and technology innovation precinct MPark to Macquarie Park across 2 stages over the next several years. MPark will be more than the everyday workplace, a stimulating precinct designed and thoughtfully curated with the needs of our customers and community in mind. A diversity of indoor and outdoor spaces will be on offer to support workplace flexibility and enable people to be more productive, healthier, happier at work. Construction has already commenced on the first office building, 11 Cartoon Road, which will reach practical completion soon.
I'm standing in Macquarie University's central courtyard that recently opened following an extensive plan and redevelopment. It is open not only to students but also to the general community. A number of facilities here, the cafes and restaurants activation will be occurring more and more, with a lot of activities being brought into the campus. We really welcome you here, so please come and enjoy.
City of Ryde is collaborating with the state government to provide 7,000 square metres of public green space. Catherine Hamlin Park will create a new urban oasis close to Macquarie Station, right here in the geographic heart of the precinct.
Macquarie Exchange is Australia's first community business district. Construction is underway to deliver over 80,000 square metres of commercial and retail areas. Located on top of the Macquarie Park metro station, this precinct will become a dynamic destination to support more than 7,000 people working on site. Users will get to enjoy a new 2,000 square metre central park and over 5,000 square metres of mixed retail amenity curated for a modern and activated workplace of the future.
As a leader in medicines and vaccines, we've been part of Macquarie Park's innovation story for 15 years. We're proud to play a role in nurturing the innovation ecosystem we've long been part of and to strengthen Macquarie Park's future as a thriving community within Sydney's global economic corridor. Our beautiful space on Talavera Road has been transformed to meet the modern needs of our people in a hybrid world. And it is wonderful to feel the buzz back again. Sanofi Australia chases the miracles of science to improve people's lives, and it is happening here at Macquarie Park.
Welcome everyone. We've got a great panel this evening that I hope covers innovation in space, in thinking, in industry and everything around Macquarie Park. And I'm just going to actually let you guys have a couple of sentences to introduce yourself. Sarah.
Excellent. Thanks, Hugh. Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Winter. As I was just referred to, a Macquarie University alumni. Very pleased to be here. My role is as the Executive Director in Innovation Districts at the Greater Sydney Commission, soon to be the Greater Cities Commission. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And I'm responsible for Macquarie Park and the Central Coast.
Katie.
Hi everyone, great to be here tonight. My name's Katie Green. I'm a team leader at CSIRO at Linfield, so slightly across the border of Macquarie Park, but we like to be inclusive. I manage the Linfield Collaboration Hub, which is an innovation incubator for deep tech startup companies, and what I enable is people to connect with CSIRO who might otherwise find it challenging and support them to get their innovative new deep tech products into the market and make global impact.
Great. And Gavin?
I think we met earlier, so we can jump straight in.
All right, I'll take your time there. I'm Peter White. I'm the New South Wales Chief Scientist and Engineer, actually, so I should add that onto the end. But also I happen to work one day a week for Macquarie University, so I have a vested interest in Macquarie Park myself. I think what would be great to unpack this evening is what are the real attractors, what's the great things about Macquarie Park? And then I'm also going to, just so you can think about it, and you think about a statement which isn't career limiting, what's still necessary, what work is there left to do at Macquarie Park to really make it better than it is? And maybe we'll start with innovation in space.
Great, thanks Hugh. I think we all know what makes Macquarie Park great. It's very established. It is often referred to as the kind of exemplar and the kind of first of the innovation districts. And sometimes that great success can actually also be a bit of a barrier, I think I'd say. So sometimes, people forget that, you kind of constantly need to rework things and to kind of think about things and bring them to the modern age. And so I think that is a little bit of a challenge with Macquarie Park. But all the building blocks are there. Fantastic university, great talent. We just saw fabulous footage about the connectivity into the broader Sydney region, and I would also argue into the even greater region now up to Central Coast, Newcastle and down to Wollongong. I think there's great opportunities. I want to come back to that fabulous welcome to country that we saw, and the thing that really was resonating for me while I was watching that was vibrancy. And I do think that we all know that there probably is some work to be done around vibrancy. Certainly some of the work that the Greater Sydney Commission has been doing to support the RIDE Coordination Group is looking at that issue. And so that's one thing that I'd just kind of call out. We're doing lots of work on it. I can see everyone's doing lots of work on it, but I think that is something that we still need to continue to turn our minds to.
That's good. Katie?
I think to echo your points there is around all the building blocks are there. You have the established corporates who obviously innovate in their own right. You've got a fabulous university that's bringing through the new talent that we need, and you've got the innovators and early stage startups and scale-ups that are coming through both the Macquarie incubator as well as in the local community, that altogether those are parts of an ecosystem, and they're the parts that show the progression of how innovation happens from that ideation phase right through to being a fully fledged corporate entity that's contributing to the economic impact that Macquarie Park has.
Yeah, I think for us the big thing is probably, and we shouldn't maybe discount the pandemic and what the pandemic has actually done for us. I think what we're trying to do is actually attract people back into the office. And I think, as you said, the building blocks are all there, amazing transport facilities. You know, Optus has people living all over Sydney coming in here. But I think a big thing for us, and to get that vibrancy back, is to actually get our people back into the office and get them into working back here and then expanding into Macquarie Park.
Yeah, I agree with you there, although all the undergraduates are slowing down my coffee acquisition in the morning now. What about things that need work? I mean, you know, I look at Macquarie, okay, and I look at the signs of stuff Greater Sydney Commission's doing in some of the other precincts around. What could really be done here to really, you know, turn it from a great precinct into a world-class precinct, genuinely?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, it's like, how do you attract people to Optus? But it's bigger than that. It's not just attracting people to Optus, it's actually attracting people to come to Macquarie Park and want to come out and work here. And I think some of the key things for us is we've got an amazing campus here, but it's not all about the campus. It's also about what's outside of the campus and what can people go and experience at their lunchtimes or after work to have a really good time around Macquarie Park. And I think that's something for us, and I think we should all be working together on that. And how do we create that community and that vibrancy that I think people, especially working in innovative areas, want to experience after a hard day of work?
Okay, Katie?
And I think to build on that, having an advocate or a champion for Macquarie Park that can be the public face of what Macquarie Park is and what it wants to be into the future is really important. And I know the Connect MPID team has been working very hard on their vision statement and their, you know, what we have to offer. It's how do you get people to understand, appreciate and recognise what value is for them to be part of the Macquarie Park community. And the people who are the connectors in Macquarie Park are the keys to the success. So it's those people that know people. I mean, as you know, Hugh, you would make those connections between people that ordinarily wouldn't talk to each other. The value in that is huge. So you want to amplify their voice as well.
Yeah. Sarah?
I think the reflection I was having while I was listening to that was we are in a really tricky situation post-COVID where it really has to be a good event for people to kind of get out of bed for. And I mean, I think, you know, look at this room, it's fantastic. People are actually craving that in-person connection. So I absolutely agree that that's kind of key to vibrancy. But I think that we also need to think about how we actually connect better in virtual ways as well. And the thing that I really want to call out is around a network of innovation districts. So there's a fabulous ecosystem here, but there is actually a broader ecosystem of innovation districts that's going to be critical to delivering on the 6 cities kind of mega region vision. And that's the bit of the vision for Macquarie Park that I think is really important. How does Macquarie Park work in with places like Tech Central, Westmead, the hubs of innovation up in the Central Coast? Fabulous slide before showing that connectivity of, you know, all the students that are flowing into Macquarie University. That is also, you know, that is a broader innovation network in itself. So I think we need to tap into that, and not all of that is going to be in-person kind of collaboration, but it's really important that we get that right, so that we sell that one message to the world about this kind of globally competitive region.
So let me press a little bit harder on that, I think. You know, as we were just talking earlier, I sit on a committee that looks after all the precincts in the state. There are 115, okay, which is 115 is quite a lot. What's really going to make Macquarie Park world famous? I mean, you know, can you pick something? I mean, often I say, you know, if it goes bang, it's at Aerotropolis. If it goes squish, it's at Westmead. And if it goes ping, then it's at Digital. It's at Tech Central. What's really going to make the right sound here at Macquarie? Do you know what I mean? So that people will say, Macquarie, I know that. that's where we're going to do X. Give me some thoughts. Give me some ideas.
I'd love to hear from my other panellists first, actually, on this one.
Good handle. You could join government with a comment like that.
Brilliant deflection, Sarah. I struggled a lot when I started the Linfield Collaboration Hub, because we immediately went to, do we want to be a medtech hub? Do we want to be a robotics hub? What do we want to be? And spent a lot of time debating what is our niche going to be. And I think what we ended up recognising was that being somewhat agnostic to the industry that you're serving, but ensuring that you have purposeful, meaningful, globally competitive technologies being developed was much more important than being able to put a label on us. And I think that's what Macquarie Park already has in its essence, is established industry across a range of sectors and each successful in their own right. But how do you then amplify that or cross over between those organisations to make something new and creative come out? And I think trying to pigeonhole yourself is always dangerous.
But you could be known for literally innovation and creativity in that sense, you know, crossover maybe.
And I think, you know, Optus is going through something very similar at the moment. We're trying to go from a telco to the most loved everyday brand in Australia. And how do we do that? We have to sort of move away from just your everyday telco to what we are now exploring is what we're calling the living network. So it's giving people the opportunity to work on some really exciting things that maybe a traditional telco wouldn't normally do. So stuff like donate your data that we do, where people can actually donate their data to our charities and we can then share that data out. I think those are the kind of things that people want to work on. They want to work on something that's really new and exciting. And we've got a whole bunch of stuff coming out soon. But I think to me, how do we do that? It's not just about the whole area. It's about how do the companies in Macquarie Park actually make that change.
So I'm pleased you said that, because I think, you know, rather than pursuing that one, I mean, you as a much, almost like an anchor company in this area, I would say, how do you engage with these SMEs, the startups? How do you know, become part of what they're doing, and how do they become part of what you're doing? Does that you know, how do you make that happen in Macquarie Park?
So we've got some amazing things running here at Optus. We've got our sustainability team, and we do a whole bunch of startup sessions where we actually get a whole bunch of people in here, and we end up awarding, I think it's about $200,000 to those startups to go off and do what they need to do. So we are doing stuff like that. We're trying to bring those people into Optus, trying to help them with their startups. But also it's about getting people in here to speak to our people around, you know, we had someone from T-Mobile come and talk to our people. We have people coming from overseas just to share with what they're doing and try to get them excited about what the potential and what it's actually out there.
And Katie, I mean, you're kind of, you know, the place, I guess, where our small companies come to grow, or learn how to grow at least. I mean, how do you kind of make sure all that connectivity works, you know, that you genuinely get that synergy across not just the smaller companies, but the bigger companies, and CSIRO and the universities come to that?
I think it comes down to building relationships and meaningful connections. To your point of how do you get people to come together in a room, it's around you're coming for a joint purpose and you've got a buy-in to why you're doing something. So if you can tap into what motivates people to want to connect, whether that be to solve a problem, or they're trying to find a new way to operate their business, or they want a different space to work in and learn from each other, having the opportunity to get people to connect that come from different backgrounds and there are different stages is really quite insightful. And it's really interesting when you see two people who you think would have no common ground whatsoever learn amazing things from each other. And I think when you can be, the greatest thrill I get is being able to connect two people together that I know are going to do something great together.
Yep.
And it doesn't need me to get the glory of that. It's just knowing that you two together are going to go out and do great things. And how you facilitate that in Macquarie Park, I think, is really important. And having support from established corporates that can then go, how can I give back to the next generation of innovators? Or how can I support that new idea to get it off the ground? Can I be the first customer of an innovator? Or can I support, like we go out and look at the back of the room today with the startups who are coming out of Macquarie incubator? How can I support them in some way by making a connection for them? And being respectful and giving back to the innovation community, I think is really important.
So let me turn this question on Sarah now. How can you design a future for Macquarie Park that makes this sort of thing happen and happen better? Because it's, you know, while I like a lot of things about this, like the railway and everything else, I do find, you know, walking down Warwick Street, it's all one building after another, and you don't get this kind of connectivity that I think is so important to what Katie's talking about. And you're the place innovator here, right?
Yes, and I'll put my kind of planning hat on to kind of answer this question. The Greater Sydney Commission has had a great role in doing strategic planning and kind of innovating on what places should be, and really that has been the role to date that we have been playing in Macquarie Park. So part of what we have been doing is working with our fabulous colleagues at DPE to look at the draft place strategy and to identify those kind of areas where, you know, there needs to be more open space, or there needs to be, neighbourhood centres to kind of, create that level of connectivity. We've also been working on a strategic infrastructure and services assessment, which will be coming out later in the year, and that will also start to kind of identify the infrastructure needs. Things like, it all sounds very boring when you kind of use those words, but it's things like new schools, new high schools. This is all feeders into the work that we're talking about, that kind of brings families, that kind of creates that connectivity. We have to have plans. They take many years to be developed. Minister Dominello talked about the horse paddocks that used to be here. I used to do gymkhana, not far from here. It takes time, and I think
with the minister, wasn't that right?
No, I'm not sure he was leading the horse, but the point that I guess I'm trying to make is that strategic planning does take time. We do have plans. It takes time to deliver on them. And I guess the challenge that I would have to people here is that, the Greater Sydney Commission, Cities Commission, does want to be a place innovator. If there are areas where we can accelerate that, where we can kind of speed it up so that it is not the kind of longer term kind of process, where we can do innovative things around, access to capital, we're absolutely open to that. And we'll continue to kind of, play that advocacy role. So this is, I guess, an open, a kind of open invitation to hear those ideas. But what we will keep doing, what we have always done really well, is that strategic planning, coordinating across government, so we don't have transport doing one thing and then over here we've got a livability team coming up with other plans and land use planning over here. We're bringing that all together, and we'll continue to do that as we now move into our role as the Greater Cities Commission. Our legislation has been passed, and so we will start to move towards city plans, and Macquarie Park is a key kind of player, economic driver in the Eastern Harbour City. It always has been and it always will be.
So let me just, I hate to be, Katie knows
Are you picking on me?
I often pursue things, in rather too much vigour sometimes. But I'll give you an instance. I look at Macquarie Park, and individually when I'm at the campus, it's great, or I'm here at Optus, it's great. But I have to say, the walk from Macquarie Uni to here is not something you should walk, because it's just traffic and roads and everything else. How, as a planner, given that this has evolved this way, is there a way to fix this so you can genuinely build the kind of community that I guess people are envisaging, as a real precinct integrated? Do you know what I mean?
I would have to say yes to that. I mean, I think, because I guess, but what it comes down to, right, anything's possible, but there's time constraints, there's money constraints, and there's all of those things, right? So anything is possible. It's about what is possible in the particular moment, but we'll continue to come up with what the best possible outcomes for a region are, and that's what we do in close collaboration with our colleagues across government. There's lots of great people that kind of tackle these problems all the time, and then think about, well, what does that mean from an investment point of view? But I'll come back to the point that I made earlier. There's different models for how sometimes these designs can be delivered and funded. And I'd like to see kind of, other ideas put forward from the private sector in how we can do some of that work. I think at the moment there probably is some government work that's focused around that, and some ideas from the outside might be very helpful.
So just taking it now a little step further, I mean, you talk a lot about the companies that have been in the ON program, for example, at CSIRO, or in the incubators at the university. Is there the right kind of space? Is there a right kind of place to sort of get them to stay here and to scale and all this sort of thing, as a real community? Do you know what I mean? Does that happen?
So
how does it happen?
I'm very against the approach of build it and they will come, because I think you're preempting what people are going to need into the future when maybe they haven't quite figured out what that might look like. So when it came to building, we have a makerspace at Linfield. When it came to filling that up with bits of kit, we went to the people who were in our incubator and said, what kind of kit do you want to go into this makerspace? And kind of expecting them to go, I would like this $10, $20 million bit of kit, but they don't really want that. They want stuff that gets the job done quickly, efficiently, prototype, rapidly get it done. So I think taking some of that rapid prototyping, iterative process into planning, I think is really maybe an approach to think about. Like, rather than preempting what buildings am I going to need in 10 to 15 years' time, it's how do I work with the companies as they grow to develop what they need as they scale and expand. So we accommodate small scale businesses at Linfield. So these are up to 10 to 20 people. Baraha, who you see popping up on the screen now and then, expanded to 100 people over the course of a couple of years. And we just went, wow, didn't see that coming. Haven't really got space to accommodate you, but we love what your vision is and where you're going. So we'll adapt what we have to allow you to keep growing and support you that little bit longer. But we recognise now there's that intermediate space that's required. So
that's what I wanted to get at, I guess.
Sorry, it's a long-winded answer.
No. I mean,
but there is, before you're ready to occupy a fully fledged precinct or a whole building to yourself, you need more than an office and a lab, but it's something in between. So having agility in buildings and facilities, I think, is going to be really important into the future.
I was interested in the video around the innovation hub around the biosciences and things like that, and those sorts of investments where there are spaces for scale-up companies to really have effect, because I mean, in the end, they're the big job creators around this, and to see that sort of thing can happen. So just on another sort of note, what about the risks here? Are there anything that could get in the way? I mean, so you've got a great uni, you've got incubators, you've got new planning, you're getting a whole new name, and everything else. Are there risks in Macquarie Park about the way it could develop?
I mean, I think from our perspective, we probably look at Macquarie Park around, what would be really good is if people actually stayed and worked in Macquarie Park. And what I mean by that is if they move jobs from Optus to Johnson & Johnson or go to another company, it would be amazing to actually see people move through companies in Macquarie Park. So they actually see Macquarie Park as a place where you can grow your career, especially in an innovation area, and you can actually find roles in companies in Macquarie Park, because we actually like being in Macquarie Park. So I think that to us is a key, but then seeing people come to us and almost driving that movement of people in Macquarie Park would be awesome to see. I think a lot of our people leave and go to maybe into the city and to other areas. It's about how do we actually maybe keep people in Macquarie Park and see how they can move their careers through Macquarie Park.
Yeah. That really, though, creates the right precinct, right? It's where you've got all those skills flying around between companies, and you see that in some of the great precincts overseas, for example. That really makes it happen, yeah. Katie, risks? Or positives?
I think Gavin kind of touched on one of the risks is the effect of the pandemic. Like, people are not really operating how they used to. And we were talking earlier around how do you get people back into the workforce when they've got themselves set up in a nice, cosy office at home and are still being productive. So I think one of the opportunities here is to create an incentive or a motivation to get people back into Macquarie Park and into the workplace more generally. And I think a lot of us are feeling that, that's maybe going to be a little bit harder than what we expected it might have been.
Getting it to stop raining would help, actually, as well. And Sarah?
A risk and an opportunity, because I'm always a glass half full person. I think it's about Macquarie Park, and I've said it before, but I'll say it again, and its role in the broader innovation district ecosystem.
Yes.
So I agree with everything that's just been said about we want people to kind of be here and cluster here and kind of work their whole career in here. I think we also want to see that connectivity with other innovation districts across the mega region and what opportunities that might that might throw up. Macquarie Park is incredibly successful, and so I think there is a risk that sometimes that success, the great self-organising that occurs, can mean that there's no crisis or fire to put out. So I think it is about kind of making sure that the interdependencies with the other innovation districts are really well understood. That Macquarie Park's success is actually critical to the success of all of the innovation districts, and the kind of economic story of the region is probably what I would say is the risk and opportunity.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's important. Look, particularly connecting with some of the other related tech central and places like that is going to be key to how this develops. So 20 years ago, there were horses in the paddock. 20 years from now, what do you envisage Macquarie Park looking like? Any ideas, guys?
Well, I guess I have to solve your problem and say there'll just be autonomous driving cars scooting you between the Optus campus and the Macquarie incubator.
Yeah, we'll work on that one, right?
Yeah, I think there's huge potential. I think in 20 years' time, you could have a really thriving sort of innovation hub here in Macquarie Park, and seeing potentially the schools and having those sort of places for people to put their kids in daycare. I think those are key things. If we can open that up, then you're creating a real place for people to stay. So in 20 years' time, it could absolutely be thriving.
Yeah, it's a great vision. Sarah?
Completely agree with that. We'd have a nighttime economy. We'd have all those kind of satellite neighbourhood areas really kicking off and taking taking shape. Hopefully, we don't have to wait for 20 years to get there. But yeah, that's my hope as well.
That's great. Fantastic panel. If you could join me in thanking them. Thanks very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Mark Ames. I'm the General Manager of Connect Macquarie Park Innovation District, and that was a fabulous panel discussion. Thank you so much to all of our panellists for your thought leadership and indeed for your time. I'll just say on a personal note, how exciting is it to be doing this again, to be in person again, to be seeing familiar faces and really feeling the buzz of a network in action. And for me, it was also very exciting to experience those live performances from the Macquarie Foundation singers and also from the Rosemont String Orchestra, who were last in Macquarie Park when we celebrated the second birthday of Sydney Metro. Because let's face it, what is the use of science, technology and innovation without the arts as well? Connect Macquarie Park Innovation District is a unified voice for the future, and our board of directors who govern this organisation have wanted to bring all of you together for this conversation for a little while now, but something called a global pandemic has had other ideas. Our board of directors represent our members, who you can see on the screen here, and they are local leaders who generously give their time to guide our progress. And our members include the leading workplaces, landowners, and agencies who are working here in Macquarie Park today. So I'd like to pay testimony to our board and for their vision for this organisation, and indeed their increasing ambition for Macquarie Park. When most of us were concerned with the day-to-day, the here and now of just getting through the global pandemic, that board dedicated the time through what felt like an awful lot of Zoom meetings, it has to be said, to set this organisation up for success. As an organisation, we're a member-led independent association, and I think that's a rare and wonderful thing, because here are two levels of government, both New South Wales and local government, Macquarie University and its research community, landowners like Stockland, AMP and Frasers, who of course have that very long-term interest in the park, as well as the leading employers, all working together around our shared table. Connect MPID has 5 strategic pillars. They're really our strategy for success, and they underpin the work that we do in the park, namely transform, advocacy and strategy, move, mobility and access, which of course is an issue that everyone is aware of in our area, thrive, that innovation and commercialisation piece, elevate, marketing and promoting Macquarie Park as an innovation district, and unite, activating and bringing together the community, building engagement. These are the areas of focus that we believe are needed for Macquarie Park to accelerate as an innovation district. And I have to point out that I think it's really important to point out that this is not just about entrepreneurs when we talk about Macquarie Park as an innovation district. Julie Wagner, who is really the expert on planning innovation districts at the Global Institute of Innovation Districts, if you're not familiar with the text in the theory behind them, she defines them as dense hubs of economic activity where innovation, entrepreneurship, and placemaking can all collide. All connected by transit, powered by clean energy, wired for digital technology, and fueled by caffeine. Certainly by that measure, I think all of the ingredients are here. And done right, creating the conditions which are conducive to innovation will create more jobs, more new ideas, and more opportunities. Our aim as an association is to create a rising tide that is going to lift everybody in Macquarie Park. In that panel discussion, it was really interesting that we talked about the global pandemic. We can't avoid it, right? I know we're all sick of talking about it, but it has been a shock for Macquarie Park. But I'm confident that we've turned a corner as a precinct. Connect MPID has been busy helping to welcome people back to the park with free fitness programs, live music, long lunches to get your teams back together, and even visits from our pop-up ice cream truck, which have been very popular despite the weather for the past 4 weeks. And I'd just like to express a note of thanks to the City of Ryde for their support and their leadership in that work in helping to boost confidence and to create a buzz in Macquarie Park again. As part of our area's ongoing economic recovery from the pandemic, I'm thrilled to announce that with the generous support of the New South Wales Government, Connect MPID will host MP Expo on the 25th of May. MP Expo is an innovation-themed event series which will culminate in a major open-air street festival, a street party, on Wednesday the 25th of May. We're going to close Banfield Road in the commercial heart of Macquarie Park to traffic for the day to create new space, temporary space, to bring the community safely together once again and to showcase our area's achievements. We're working on the ethos of come for the tech, come for the innovation, but stay for the festival atmosphere. So we'll have fabulous food trucks, impactful keynote speakers, and of course, inspiring innovation panels. As I say, most importantly of all, we'll be creating space for you, from Macquarie Park's community, to come together in person, to meet and to spend quality time with your teams again. It's going to be a great day. I've made a call about the weather and I've had reassurances that it's going to be fine. So we look forward to seeing you there on the 25th. But I would like to express my thanks to the New South Wales Government for their leadership in that and in making MP Expo happen. So thank you very much, New South Wales Government. All right, let's turn to a slightly more long-term frame. Let's turn to the future. I'm very proud this evening to be launching this report, which you have a copy of on your desks if you're in person, on your seats if you're here with us on person, or on our website if you're joining us via our live stream. Hello to everybody on the internet. This report, a roadmap for Macquarie Park, collaboration, innovation, transformation, represents many hours of consultation with our community, such as in-depth interviews with subject matter experts, workshops with business leaders, and detailed analysis of the commitments and the priorities that have already been made for Macquarie Park. And it serves to highlight the success of our area. It really identifies where to begin the transformation of Macquarie Park into a world-leading innovation district. It's a significant and important piece of work, so I'd just like to share one or two highlights of the report with you. As Eric identified earlier, our history is important. Innovation is in our DNA. Macquarie Park was purposefully planned as a place where business could cluster in close physical proximity to research and academia. built around a world-leading university. And that's why we can fairly claim that we are Australia's original innovation district. On the left, you might recognise, for those of you who are mentioning the horses in Macquarie Park, that's Lane Cove Road. If you've ever driven past the Hyundai building and Macquarie Park metro station, there it is not so long ago, which I think shows just how far we have come, but also just how far we can go as well. The university there was founded on farmland in 1964. Dubbed the Stanford of the South, the university, as I was saying, was intentionally designed as an academic institution that would be surrounded by industry, just like in Palo Alto in California. And it is now not just in our DNA, part of our history, but today a live, breathing ecosystem. We saw more and more happening in Macquarie Park. The M2 opened, the train line came, the metro came, the shopping centre expanded, majors like Optus moved in. You could really see that the park was accelerating. In the year 2020, Macquarie Park was designated a New South Wales Premier's Priority Precinct, and in 2021, the New South Wales Government published their 20-year vision for our area with the aim of creating 20,000 new jobs here and transforming Macquarie Park into a world-leading innovation district. And this year, of course, we welcome Sarah at the Greater Sydney Commission to coordinate the infrastructure and the economic development which is needed to really help move our area along. So I think where we can agree is that Macquarie Park today is a success story. In fact, it is the #1 Australian postcode for IP registrations. 10% of the world's top 100 companies have their Australian headquarters right here in this park. And this park generates $9.5 billion in GDP through economic activity every year. This is significant stuff. That's done by 72,000 employees, 12,000 local residents, and about 45,000 students on their beautiful campus. And our innovation credentials are solid as well. 2 incubators, as you've heard already, supporting more than 120 startup companies already, who've created together 320 jobs and raised $120 million in funding, right here in the heart of Sydney's greenest and most tree-filled CBD. When you look at who's who in the park, there are key clusters. And Sarah, it was really interesting to hear you say, what will the park be known for? And I think that is a point of difference for Macquarie Park when you compare us to other districts who might be known for one thing. Tech Central equals technology, or Westmead equals clinical health. Because we've grown up as an area over several decades already, different clusters have emerged. When you measure them by number of employees, that's 25% industrial and technology. That's companies like BOC, DXC, and Datacom. 20% is digital, companies like Fujitsu, Schneider Electric, Fujifilm. 19% is medical and pharmaceutical, of course. We're not known as Pill Hill for nothing. That includes Novartis, Sanofi, Johnson & Johnson. 7% telecoms, operators like Optus, who we have here, Foxtel, Macquarie Telecom, who are only going one way, they're growing here too. And of course, 11% is education and research, not just the university, but also the university hospital, the incubators, and the Australian Hearing Hub. And when we look at what's coming out of the innovation ecosystems, we really do already have some great notches against our name. There's Till Payments. They started in a small commercial space in Macquarie Park in 2012, scaled very rapidly. In fact, they grew 204% in 1 year, raised $110 million in Series C investment, and they now occupy a flagship building on Waterloo Road. There's Monomic, a medtech firm, who have designed and produced a really innovative and cutting-edge test that can detect early-stage prostate cancer. And they are now ready to launch, not just here in Australia, but on the American medical market as well. Katie mentioned Baraja, and we can't go through an innovation event in Macquarie Park and not talk about them, really. They were CSIRO's first incubator tenant. They patented a unique LiDAR spectrum scanning system, the sort of thing that you would use to drive self-driving autonomous vehicles. And they have just taken off and now employ more than 150 people at their new headquarters in North Ryde. And Emotive, this is one of my favourite innovation stories in Macquarie Park. They were co-founded by a Macquarie University PhD who is based at the incubator. This firm uses devices which literally read your mind. I have no idea how that's possible, but that's what they do. And in 2020, they enabled a quadriplegic man, a man who cannot use his body, to drive a Formula One racing car only using his brainwaves. This evening, you had the chance to meet some of the latest innovators who are in our park at the back of the room, and I think it's exciting to think who might be next among them. But while there's exceptional levels of agreement between industry and government and academia about the future of our area, as part of creating this report, our community were not afraid to be forthright in identifying both the challenges and the opportunities that face Macquarie Park today. As end users, they know what's good and what's not so good about Macquarie Park, and it's important that we capture that experience as we consider the future. Our community is proud of what our area has achieved, but they're also realistic in not declaring mission accomplished for Macquarie Park just yet. And they share common struggles, whether that's attracting and retaining the best talent, whether it's fighting negative perceptions of place, or indeed whether it's battling traffic at 8:30 on a Monday morning. And of course, they share common opportunities too. The intense concentration of specialist skills that exist here, the unprecedented public and private investment, and of course, access to research. Through workshops with our members, we captured that sentiment in this report. And working with them, we also undertook an in-depth analysis of all of the policies and all of the strategies which have been published and which are pertinent to Macquarie Park, including the new 20-year plan, and identified from all of those 4 key challenges and opportunities. The first of those is getting growth right. Due to its success, the number of people in Macquarie Park has grown significantly in recent years. And as the 20-year plan identifies, this has created a need for infrastructure to catch up. The Department of Planning's 2015 Strategic Employment Review of Macquarie Park and their 2021 Draft Master Plan both agree that there are 72,000 people working in the park today, but they forecast different long-term views. And by 2035, the difference between those forecasts is equal to 27,000 employees. As an organisation, we believe those 2015 forecasts were reliable and they should be revisited. In fact, we're aware of 6 developments either currently applying for consent or already under construction in Macquarie Park right now, which will already create enough employment opportunities for more than 27,000 people. This is important because future infrastructure, whether that's new buses or new buildings, will be planned around those forecasts, which is why we're keen, of course, to work with everybody to get them right. We're really excited about Sydney Metro expanding. If you're not enthusiastic about Sydney Metro in Macquarie Park, you should be. We are home to already Australia's first autonomous metro system. It's incredible. But in 2024, I will get on a driverless train in air-conditioned comfort at Macquarie Park Station, and 18 minutes later, I will be having a glass of wine and a boozy lunch at Barangaroo in the CBD. If that isn't game-changing, I don't know what is. It's very exciting. However, access from the east and the west, the northern beaches, and of course Western Sydney, do need better connections if Macquarie Park is to grow successfully. In fact, public transport currently from Parramatta to Macquarie Park, if you're on a bus, can take an hour and 15 to an hour and a half compared to a 30-minute car journey. So of course, people are opting for the car, but as we know, we don't want to be encouraging more congestion in the precinct. Meanwhile, commuters from the northern beaches tell us that they also have the least choice and the least satisfaction with their transport options. Strategic plans, the good news is that there are strategic plans for a new rail connection from Parramatta to Epping. They've been announced, but of course rail takes many, many years to deliver, potentially decades. So we would propose that in tandem with that planning for a heavy rail line, a new Parramatta Macquarie Park Northern Beaches B-line style bus service could get underway within 5 years and would really transform the experience and the accessibility, in particular for employees and students coming from the West. Let's talk about how green and tree-lined Macquarie Park is. Satellite analysis shows us that, in fact, our area is already Sydney's greenest CBD. And again, that's a really strong point of distinction for us. It's consistently cooler throughout summer in Macquarie Park compared to other districts, particularly districts in the west. Streets and public spaces, Hugh was talking about walking down Waterloo Road this evening. Streets and public spaces are critical to the success of innovation districts. They're where people and ideas can come together and meet. The City of Ryde have a fabulous plan to transform Waterloo Road into a linear park, a green spine which will connect Allura Reserve, Catherine Hamlin Park, Lachlan's Line, and our 3 metro stations. Now, some of that linear park will come about incrementally through the development process, but of course, development can be slow, which means that change will be slow. And great effort will also be required to reconnect our innovation community across the 8 lanes of road at Lane Cove Road, which currently really does serve to sever ties across the park. The New South Wales Government has looked at this location, and their first proposal were for elevated walkways, sky bridges across the Lane Cove Road. But we think that maybe Macquarie Park deserves a little bit better. Let's go really big. Why don't we bury Lane Cove Road? Or why don't we cover over Lane Cove Road and create a green bridge to make more green space here and to really have room for programming, room for development, room to connect the community? It would be great to elevate that linear park plan and to really make that public space a focus for our area. During research, our stakeholders also asked, where will innovators grow in Macquarie Park? And it was great to hear the panel discussion touching on that. While the startup community is reasonably well catered for, the next steps in an innovator's journey are less clear. And there is a risk that new companies will move out of the park to scale. And I think addressing that issue will require multiple solutions. Space to grow could be provided via planning incentives, for example, to make the provision of specialist space commercially viable, or repurposing some of our existing buildings might be supported through accommodation rebates or impactful research partnerships across Macquarie Park, not just between 1 or 2 companies, but maybe 3 or 4 companies, as well as the research community, will also require economic support. There are several plans which put forward the idea of pop-up space in the commercial core of Macquarie Park. Temporary pavilions for space programming, things like demountable pavilions. Certainly we agree that intentional community programming, whether that's yoga to hackathons to research partnerships, will absolutely be required to make any space here a success. The good news here, of course, is that no one has to do it alone to make this happen. While Investment New South Wales or the Greater Sydney Commission might take the lead, they'll find in us and find in the community in Macquarie Park a real band of enthusiastic partners who are exceptionally keen to help you to make this happen. So, what is it, the opportunity that is in front of us? Our research identified 26 pre-existing government commitments for our area, which our community thought should be prioritised, and it also generated a small number of original ideas. And you'll find all of those in detail in the back of our report. Our members prioritised those 26 ideas under our strategic pillars, indicating who should make a start on each idea and how the broader community can help. So if anyone is tasked with planning the future of Macquarie Park and is looking for a sign that says, start here, this is certainly where you would find it. But I would stress that the framing of this report is important too. This is not a list of demands. This is not an instruction from the community in Macquarie Park. This roadmap is a clear signal that Macquarie Park's community is engaged and is excited about the future. It's a clear signal that we're ready to collaborate with government and to work together. And it's a clear signal that Connect MPID can help different agencies achieve their aims and together achieve more impact. In summary, Macquarie Park, as you've heard tonight, is on the cusp of transformative change. It does face a challenge to grow eloquently from a car-oriented district to a people-oriented place for the 21st century. As we've seen, it's already generating billions of dollars in economic activity every year. We exist. Now it must attract more talent, more entrepreneurs, and more innovation opportunities in order to continue to grow. Connect MPID acknowledges the support and the focus of government in Macquarie Park. We are excited about the government's vision for our future. As I say, there is exceptional alignment, and we are ready to help guide further policy to elevate our area and ready to work with you to help deliver that change. We believe that the park is at an exceptional moment in its history, and I believe that this is going to be a great conversation for everyone, all of you who are tasked with building the future in Macquarie Park. And I do hope that tonight is just the start of that conversation. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce to the stage Councillor Jordan Lane, our new Mayor of the City of Ryde. Councillor, come on up.
Well, thank you, Mark, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to Ryde for all those that have made the trip. Since I was elected to lead this city, I've thought a few times that I truly am, or must be, the luckiest mayor in all of Sydney, because we've heard a lot about Macquarie Park, and I will talk about that, but if I can just give you a snapshot of Ryde very quickly. There are very few suburban LGAs in New South Wales, or indeed anywhere in the country, that can lay claim to waterfront and bushland, to major large business and small business precincts, to universities and hospitals, and a university hospital as well. And of course, a diverse community made up of people from different backgrounds, different professional endeavours, different socioeconomic statuses, but all united by, I think, a common aspiration to do better, to give back to community, to be part of a fundamentally great city. Growing up, I had an abundance of friends from all around the city, and so many of them were always looking for that opportunity to move out to something else. A lot of them chose Ryde. A lot of them chose to move closer to the city. I never had that thought. I'm born and bred in Ryde at Ryde Hospital. I've never had a moment's thought where I think, you know, there's something better. And if we can get more people to recognise all of those great strengths, all of those great opportunities that we have here in the city of Ryde, then there is really nothing stopping our future. We talk about a 20-year plan. I'd like to talk even broader about a 100-year plan, so that when I'm long gone, we are leaving behind a true legacy, a true place that will go down as the Washingtons and the Bostons of the United States and some of these great cities all around the world. I'd like the city of Ryde, but in particular Macquarie Park, to represent one of those places. I love Connect. I love everything about what it represents. Because when I was elected mayor, I said that I thought that it represented a new frontier of the City of Ryde's engagement as a stakeholder in this community. One of true collaboration with, of course, our business community and the stakeholders, but most importantly, with government, state and federal government. Because if they are not working together in the interests of community, in the interests of business, then frankly, the best plans will be laid to rest, because there won't be the resourcing, there won't be the focus, there won't be the investment or the attention to get them off the ground. And I give you my word on this, that collaboration is the one thing that I hope to leave behind when I'm done in this role, because I think it is a true strength. That's not me saying that government is the solution to any of these things. I think that what you do at Macquarie and some of the great people that you have involved, not only tonight, but in this precinct, you have some of the best minds in all of Australia, indeed in New South Wales, and I think that we should be listening to that and harnessing that. But if we can't create a framework to bring to fruition those ideas, then we aren't doing you the right service, and we aren't doing this place justice. So what is the role, I suppose, of council in all of this? Well, I heard on the panel some great comments about breaking down silos and being more integrated in how we work, and that's right. Because so many of the transport problems that we have in Macquarie Park and Ryde aren't just transport problems, they're also planning problems, they're education problems. They've got to do with the standard pressures that you have in a growing city. And if we can't, as a council and work with government, break down some of those silos and be more integrated in our responses, then we're going to continue to get the cookie cutter responses that don't leave us with a truly great place. And so that's something that we need to work to break down. So council's role in all of that needs to be to hear that feedback and then provide our conditions. We don't want people to leave. Well, how can we incentivise them to stay? We need to create that nightlife. We have a role to do that. I was visiting a stakeholder up at the Trinity building, and it's in Macquarie Park, and they've got enterprising guy who runs a cafe down on the bottom floor. And of a night time, he flips it over to a bar. He's got a bar set out, and it's really effective. But he closes at 6 o'clock. So people who go for a drink after work aren't really spending their time in Ryde. So they might go for one drink and then leave and head to the city, to the Star, maybe to Parramatta. That's something I want to change, because I want people who maybe didn't have the privilege like me of being born here and living here, but who come here to decide, like I have, that they want to stay. But they're not going to stay if there aren't the things to do than that integrated sort of approach to this place. So as a council, we're not going to lead this and drive this, we're going to partner with you on this. There is going to be a whole host of focus in that nighttime economy space, in that outdoor dining space, and importantly on the way that we move people around, more active transport, trying to ensure that we can address traffic, get people on trains, people on buses and ferries. We've got ferries as well in Ryde, another great thing. But all of those things so that this city can be the thriving place that it should be, not just for 20 years, but for those 100 years, as I spoke about. So, Mark, congratulations to you, wherever you went. You're over there. Congratulations to you on the report. Thank you to everybody for your involvement, but most importantly, thank you to government and the agencies of government that are represented here tonight for focusing on this area. I will be a partner in that, and I hope that we can leave a truly great legacy for future generations. So thank you all for coming. Have a good evening, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.
Thank you all. So I'm mindful of time. I think we've gone just a little bit over, so I'll be relatively quick. Look, my name's Craig Lenarduzzi. I sit on the board of Connect. I've done so for probably about 5 years. And I wear another hat. I'm also in the development team with Stockland as well. So I'll certainly take on board some of the planning comments. On behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you all for joining us this evening. I think, as Mark touched on, it's fantastic to have everyone in the same room together. You kind of get that energy that starts to come back. And particularly, obviously, with the weather out there at the moment, I think it's always a bit challenging to come together. So, again, thank you. I'd like to send direct thanks to the performers, speakers and panellists. The Curry Foundation singers for their Welcome to Country. Agree, I thought that was fantastic. Modern interpretation of Welcome to Country, and I thought that was brilliant. Professor Eric Knight from Macquarie Macquarie Business School, on why the Innovation District model is important for Macquarie Park, and New South Wales Chief Scientist Hugh Durant-White for leading our panel discussions with voices from industry, innovation and planning. And I thought that panel was really good for a few different reasons. I thought it touched on some of the challenges, and I think a lot of the speakers have touched on, if you look at the ingredients and what Macquarie Park has, and then you put up the slide that Mark put on, it's amazing how successful it's been. And it's been successful despite the fact there are some clear challenges. And so I think there's so much opportunity for this precinct going forward to work together to solve some of those. And I think that basically the sky's the limit for the precinct. I'd also like the other members of the panel to thank them. Sarah Winter, Executive Director at the Greater Sydney Commission, Katie Green, Team Leader at CSIRO, Linfield Collaboration Hub, and Gavin Wortham, who's the Director here at Optus. Look, I'd also like to thank Mark. I'm not sure where Mark's gone. Mark's gone somewhere. But I'd like to thank Mark. A lot of work obviously goes into these events, and you've done a fantastic job. But probably more importantly, I'd also like to thank Cheryl. So Cheryl's behind the scene and does a hell of a lot of work. As I said, I've sat on Macquarie Park Innovation Precinct and Connect for quite a long time. So we've actually got a small gift for you, Cheryl, if you can come up. Thank you so much. Very good. We obviously welcomed local member Minister Victor Dominello, and the board would certainly like to extend our thanks for your support with the precinct, and we hope obviously into the future. And obviously the Mayor of Ryde, Jordan, congratulations again on your recent appointment, and loved the speech before, look forward to working with you. It was great to hear about the many ways that obviously government's committed and is a very important stakeholder. So we hope the launch of the Macquarie Park MBID's roadmap will assist different government agencies as we work together to transform the park. We hope the roadmap demonstrates both the increasing sense of ambition the Macquarie Park community has for itself, and where Connect MPID can help as a mechanism for collaboration and delivery. So we've just got a bit of a call to action to finish off with. So look, obviously it's a unique organisation, part funded by our members and part funded by 2 levels of government. It embodies the spirit collaboration that is needed to help the precinct take the precinct forward. And as we've heard, Macquarie Park is at a very exciting time in its journey, but obviously not without its changes. Your input and collaboration will be critical to delivering the roadmap and the ultimate vision for the park. In order to define what success looks like, you need to be part of the conversation. And to that end, I invite you to join us as a member, if you aren't already, and to take an active role in creating new places and spaces for new ideas, new innovation and new jobs. And doing so, elevating Macquarie Park into a world-leading innovation district. So again, thank you everyone for attending. I think it's very exciting to bring all the different, from landholders to innovators to businesses to government, and look forward to continuing to work with everyone into the future. Thank you.